The average sale price has risen nearly $23,000 in the first 4 months in Saskatoon. Will more listings in the spring and summer alleviate pressure, or will prices continue to rise? My name's Ryan Guenther, and I'm a local realtor in Saskatoon with Realty Executives. If you'd like to connect with me, all of my contact information will be in the description box below, or drop me a comment and I'll connect with you there. In this market report video, I'll break down what has happened in the Saskatoon real estate market during the first 4 months of 2026, breaking down activity in condos, townhouses, as well as detached homes. I'll also compare and contrast the changes from the same time last year and how this year has sort of gone compared to last, as well as give my predictions on what I feel the rest of the spring market will be like, as well as the summer market here in Saskatoon. As a buyer, historically, you get your best deal on a home in the dead of winter, right after Christmas. Unfortunately, that wasn't really the case in Saskatoon during the first 3 months of 2026, where we closed out last year at an average sale price of just over $425,000. But at the end of March, the average sale price was $440,000. So it had risen $15,000 in the first 3 months of the year, which should be historically the slowest. And now that we're into May, April saw that average sale price go from $440 to $448. So the average sale price in the city is up $23,000 in the first 4 months of the year, with the average sale price for a detached home in Saskatoon at $548,000. Right now, in terms of yearly data, solds are actually down 5% on the year compared to 2025 at the same time, and listings are up 1%. For the month of April, though, solds were actually up 2% and listings were up 7% compared to April of last year. Essentially what that means is the spring market this year actually is seeing more properties for sale than the same time last year. But even with more inventory, the sale price is rising at a faster rate than it did last year, even though the starting sale price is higher than it was last year. As far as numbers go, there was 450 sales in April last month versus 440 sales in April of 2025. So a little bit more sales this year. However, the listings for April of last month, there was 688 new listings versus 641 new listings in April of last year. So more inventory, a little bit more sales, but a faster rising sale price in the city of Saskatoon. However, even though there's more inventory than last year, there are still way too many buyers, and the price in Saskatoon is still relatively cheap and affordable compared to the rest of the country. So all that new inventory and new listings are just being swallowed up by all the buyers that are trying to get into a home. As probably expected, winter moving into spring, more properties are selling at or above the list price compared to, dead of winter, even with prices rising. So as far as a month by month comparison throughout 2026, for January, 32% or roughly 1/3 of all the sales were at or above the listed price. In February, 39% of all sales sold at or above the listed price. In March, 47% of all solds were at or above the listed price. And this past April, 55% on average of all sales are at or above the listed price, which just highlights what we see usually every year, where things get more and more competitive as the snow disappears, more sellers list their house, but there's way more buyers than there are new listings in the market. We currently have a 1.month supply or absorption rate of inventory throughout the city of Saskatoon, and that number is the same both in detached homes as well as condos or townhouses. However, there are some price ranges that are a little bit more competitive than others on a month-to-month basis. So for detached homes, anywhere between $300,000 to $500,000, the month supply is under 1, which essentially means that there's more sales in the previous month than there is active inventory at the start of the following month. However, the most competitive price range out there right now would be in that $300,000 to $350,000 range, with a month supply of 0.53. And what that means is at the start of May, there was 7 active listings in the $300,000 to $350,000 price range for a detached home. But in the month of April, there was 13 sales in that price range. And this would be a very starter home, oftentimes on the west side of the city. You know, some of the Alphabet stuff, you know, Caswell, west of Circle Drive too, if it was on the smaller side, because even your Confed, Pacific Heights, you know, Fairhaven, Massey properties a lot of times end up being over $350,000. So this would be, you know, the very starter home territory where these buyers don't want to do a townhouse or a condo and they want a fully detached house. It's very competitive from $300,000 to $350,000 right now. One thing to note is in the past, above $500,000 is where things used to relax a little bit. But because the new 5 to 550 is what the old 475 used to be, the $500,000 to $550,000 detached price range is incredibly competitive in Saskatoon right now, with a month supply of 0.76. And then for condos and townhouses, anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 has a month supply under 1, with the most competitive range being $250,000 to $300,000, with a month supply of 0.66. Meaning at the start of May, there was 19 active listings, but for the month of April, there was 29 solds in this price range. And this would be a lot of the 2-bedroom east side condos with elevators, some with underground parking, you know, in that sort of newer category. Some stuff downtown, and then some of the townhouses that don't have garages, potentially don't have basements, because a lot of the stuff where it's a full 2-story with a basement, if it's finished at this point, oftentimes is over $300,000. But some of those would still be in that high $200,000 range as well. The one thing I have noticed compared to last year is the 70s, 80s walk-up condos, like on Kingsmere Boulevard or Tate. The prices have stabilized a little bit. They were steadily on the rise all of last year, and it seems like the prices have stabilized and they're not increasing as much. They're still up quite a bit compared to where they were even 2 or 3 years ago, but they don't seem to be creeping up in price at the same rate as they were last year. And the month supply kind of reflects this in the sense that from $0 to $200,000, the month supply is 1.2. As far as what it feels like out there, having won and lost with at least a dozen buyers over the last month, I can definitely feel it picking up out there. The presentation of offers is back in full swing, with them working out almost every single time. And I feel like as we're now into spring, moving through spring, and then we'll be in summer, it seems to be relatively steady with more listings coming to the market, but just all those buyers waiting to get into a home. Because every time one house sells, oftentimes there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes double-digit buyers that didn't get it. And while some sales are highly above the list price, not all of them are. So if you're a buyer and you're looking to get accepted in a multiple offer situation, reach out to me and let's strategize a plan. If you're a seller and are just curious what your home might be worth in this crazy market, please give me a call. Until next time.